about the newly announced Prihatin package. So my question is how it's going to be funded, because if you mentioned just now the direct fiscal injection is around 25 billion ringgit. Now, where is this going to come from? Is it going to be reallocated from within government, or are you looking at borrowing, drawing from contingency fund? Where is it going to come from?
Yeah. So there will be a bit on reallocation of the funds within the ministries, within the government. That will probably be about 2 to 3 billion ringgit. The rest will be funded through a mixture of what we already have within the government ecosystem, right? And the remainder will be partly done through borrowings. So you will see our budget deficit going up. If you remember, in the budget 2020, the deficit was projected to be around 3.2%, and today, based on the fiscal stimulus plan, fiscal stimulus Prihatin, the budget deficit is forecasted to be around 4%.
Okay, so the deficit is likely to go up to 4% in your projections. You said a mixture of borrowing and from within government. Can you clarify exactly where from within government specifically?
Yeah. So we have, obviously, within the government ecosystem, I call it, because we have the various agencies, the various subsidiaries, that are within that government ecosystem, which are able to give, to release some money, either through dividends or, like I said, through borrowings.
Zafrul, can you explain in terms of revenue, because this is all happening in the backdrop of falling crude prices and so on and so forth, is the government strapped for cash at this point in time? Is it going to be actually quite painful for you at the ministry to kind of do this, the shuffling around and reallocation?
No, I think one misconception you may have is on the liquidity position of the country. So the liquidity is there, it's ample, right? And if you look at where we are today, there won't be any issue in addressing some of the funding needs that we have just announced today. If you look at basically the fiscal position of the country, the most impact, you're right, the revenue is impacted by the oil price, right? We had in the earlier budget in 2020 assume a oil price of $62, and today, where it is today, we are projecting oil price to be around 35 to 40 US dollar. So, but the good thing is the country has enough liquidity in the system to fund this domestically.
You mentioned a mixture of borrowings. I'm kind of stuck on that phrase because if I'm not mistaken, the Prime Minister in his speech said that the country will not be borrowing. Is that accurate?
No, the country will always, by logic, if your deficit goes up, obviously you are going to borrow, right? So yes, there will be a mixture of both internal funds within the government ecosystem. Like I said, it could be in the form of dividends, a payout from the various agencies and subsidiaries that we own, right? And also a combination of borrowings that we will do. But what's important is the fiscal discipline. Malaysia will always continue to fund its operating expenditure, not through borrowings, right? So that is a fiscal discipline that we will continue.
Okay.
What about the question of the ministries that might have their budgets cut? Can you actually name some of those ministries? I mean, in the kind of chatter that there is, there's sometimes talk about non-essential ministries and so on and so forth. Is there such a thing? And could you name some of the ministries that might actually be looking at a budget cut?
No, when you say it's not a budget cut, it's reallocation, right?